could you imagine if this was Meghan and her children, and then it turned out that there'd been some touches to the photo?
Oh my
I think
God.
that Piers Morgan's head would explode, for one. And I think some
You'd be able to hear
Twitter,
it from wherever you were.
Oh, well, exactly. There would be areas of Twitter, or X, or whatever you want to call it, would completely implode. There's people who just literally spend every waking moment completely and utterly horrible to those two people who just have decided to step away. But of course, everything they do is completely against the royal family. And listening to some of the way that those people talk about them when they are invited on TV, and it's like, but yet they expect to sort of give the grace to Kate and William, and it's like
one or the other, isn't it? Really?
Yes, exactly.
Some a bit
I
of
do
consistency.
agree that it would be best if Kate would, if they were a little bit more. If they did clarify a little bit more what exactly has gone on, because there's an awful lot of information I think
I just hate this tone, Steph. I just hate the tone. It's all a bit like, why don't you get back in your box? What's it got to do with you? Well, I suppose, if you've got a royal family, it's got something to do with everybody.
Exactly.
Shall we? When that LBC caller rang in and said, could you imagine if this was Meghan and her children and there had been touches to the photo? Piers Morgan's head would explode for once. They weren't just speculating. They were stripping the royal mask right off, tearing into the press machine with the precision of someone who's been watching this circus for far too long. That wasn't just commentary, it was rebellion on the airwaves. That was a citizen throwing a wrench into the well-oiled gears of a media institution that has spent years sanctifying one woman while vilifying another. It wasn't anger out of nowhere. It was the last straw. The kind of anger that only comes after watching one woman, Meghan, be treated like a criminal for having boundaries, for having skin a shade too brown, for daring to walk into an ancient institution and not contort herself into their fragile whitewashed ideal. Because let's get brutally honest about that photograph. The moment it dropped, it wasn't awe that gripped the internet. It was suspicion. It was déjà vu for anyone who's watched royal media long enough. And not just a casual filter here and there, this was digital surgery. And when the major international photo agencies, the gatekeepers of visual credibility, publicly rejected the image and issued kill notices, they weren't being dramatic. They were saying, this doesn't meet the basic standard of truth. Think about that. Reuters, Getty, Associated Press. These are not left-wing tabloids or online gossip rags. These are the backbone of visual journalism. And their statement was seismic. A direct hit to the royal PR war room. But instead of media outrage, instead of televised specials dissecting this breach of trust, we got softly murmured concern. A brief wave of headlines, and then the media did what they do best for Kate. They smoothed it over, softened the edges, made it palatable. But had it been Meghan? Lord, the eruption would have registered on the Richter scale. Imagine Meghan sharing a clearly edited photo of her children, hands and limbs glitching like a bad AI render, and then trying to pass it off as a casual experiment. And therein lies the sickness. The LBC caller knew it, and they weren't alone. The public, particularly those not hypnotized by the fairy tale image of royal perfection, saw the rot beneath the tiara. But no, Kate is swaddled in euphemism while Meghan is stabbed with innuendo. Even the apology Kate issued came with a built-in excuse. Like many amateur photographers, I do occasionally experiment with editing. That wasn't accountability, it was choreography. It was a statement written with the precision of a palace press team, trying to lower the stakes while pretending to raise their hands in surrender. And yeah, it worked. And still, Meghan's name trended that day, because the hypocrisy was so loud it echoed. People remembered. They remembered how Meghan was dragged for a private baby shower, for eating avocados, for holding Harry's hand. But Kate can literally circulate doctored images as official palace material and be greeted with understanding? This isn't journalism, it's gaslighting. Let's go deeper. Remember when Meghan was accused of staging photos with paparazzi, even when it turned out she didn't? When she was accused of trying to manipulate public opinion by simply existing in front of a lens? That's a calculated PR decision. That's a deliberate move to construct a narrative. And the media, which once howled about authenticity and trust, stayed silent. This is the same media that once accused Meghan of weaponizing her miscarriage by writing about it in the New York Times. An honest, vulnerable act that comforted millions of women. But Kate can Photoshop her children and issue a soft focus apology, and the response is, poor Kate, she's been through so much. The double standard isn't subtle, it's institutional. And it goes all the way back. Meghan was demonized from the moment she entered that family. The British press worked overtime to cast her as a schemer. They called her Duchess Difficult. They said she was driving staff to tears, without evidence. But now, with this edited photo, we see what the institution truly values. It's not honesty, it's not transparency, it's loyalty to the myth. Kate is the cornerstone of that myth. A woman crafted in the image of stoic British femininity, who must always be seen as composed, gentle, and above reproach. The LBC caller, in one sentence, held a mirror up to that myth and cracked it. And we need to keep cracking it. Because the truth is, the media never hated Meghan for what she did. They hated her for who she was. A Black American woman who didn't grovel, who didn't shrink, who didn't beg for crumbs of approval. And the palace never protected her. Not from racism, not from cruelty, not from slander. They let her be devoured because, honestly, it was easier to preserve the image of one princess than defend the dignity of another. So no, we don't need more excuses. We need reckoning. We need to talk about how this same press that, foams at the mouth when Meghan dares to appear in public was suddenly too tired to criticize Kate when she distributed fake imagery of royal heirs. That's not oversight. That's bias so loud it should be screaming headlines itself. And now, even the public is turning. The carefully constructed image is cracking. People are asking questions. They're remembering the cruelty Meghan endured, the tears, the suicidal thoughts, and the escape to California that was mocked, but honestly, was necessary. This photo scandal didn't just expose bad editing, it exposed a kingdom of lies built on selective storytelling. And once again, it wasn't Meghan who lit the match. It was the system that accidentally dropped it. So to that LBC caller and every person who refuses to accept double standards as tradition, keep calling it out. Keep asking the hard questions. Because this house of cards is wobbling, and truth is the breeze they never saw coming. And as the old walls tremble, something new stirs in the air, a quiet but growing hope. People are asking questions, demanding transparency, and refusing to accept the old narratives without challenge. Each voice raised, each truth spoken, is a step toward a future where fairness isn't a privilege, but a given. The path ahead won't be easy. But together, we can help shape a world where honesty and empathy finally take their rightful place at the center of the story. In conclusion, the contrasting treatment of Meghan and Kate by the media and the public highlights the deep-seated biases and double standards within the royal institution. It is imperative that we continue to call out these injustices and strive for a more equitable and fair society.